Welcome. This is The Creative Obsession. My name's Carrie. It's been a little while since I last recorded one of these episodes. I'm feeling a little bit rusty and a little bit awkward because it's a Sunday, October 20th. Jim is home downstairs, and so that always feels a little bit weird. But I needed to take this time to do it, or it was going to be another several weeks. So welcome to everybody, whether you're new checking me out or you're returning. Thank you very much for being here. I will put information on contact as far as like Instagram and stuff down on the screen. And anything I talk about as far as patterns or websites, I will put links in the description box below the video. This episode's going to be a little bit heavier on quilting because that's been kind of my focus the last several weeks. As you can see behind me, I finished my Forest Friends Fancy Forest. Let me just show you that pattern because I never name it the right thing. It's a Fancy Forest by Elizabeth Hartman. It is done. I will insert a picture here of it laid out on my bed so you can kind of see the whole thing. But that feels really good to get it done. I've been kind of working on it off and on for a couple of years. So that always feels good to get that kind of a whip off my chest. Basically, check that one off. I originally was going to make this for my niece for graduation. She will graduate in 2020. She's a senior now. So when I asked her about it, I told her and I asked her about it, like, would you like this quilt? She said, yeah, But over the last couple years, 2-3 years, she's just matured in a different way that I don't feel like it's appropriate for her anymore. I think she would like it just fine just because it's something I made for her, but I just don't feel like it's right for her. I feel like it's a little young. So I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm holding on to it as kind of like a backup plan in case my other plan doesn't work. So what my other plan is, I talked about this 3 years ago, maybe, that I was designing a quilt to give to my younger brother for his 50th birthday. And he has had a love for Volkswagen Bugs. He has a black one and a cream one. And then he passed unexpectedly before his 50th birthday. So I never got a chance to make it for him. So I just never thought I would then make it. But then I've decided I'm going to try and make it for my niece and give it to her either for her birthday or graduation. Her birthday's right near graduation. So right around that time. It's just whether or not I can pull it off. So once this got done, then I knew that I could kind of freed me up to start something different. I really wanted to just get this finished, and it was a gazillion little pieces. Somebody asked me, how many pieces are in that quilt? Honestly, I don't know, but it was a lot. It's a pretty good size quilt. It would fit on a twin size bed. So if I can't pull off the Volkswagen quilt that I'm planning on trying, then I'll give this to her anyway, I guess. I don't know. Just don't feel like it's her anymore. So this is a rough picture of the Volkswagen quilt that I'm talking about that I designed on EQ. Is it dated January of 2017? So it's been almost 3 years. So it's changed since then, but this is the basic design. Because he had a black one, that was his love. Then he got a cream colored one. And so because they were like opposite in color, it just made me think of a positive and negative. And so I thought I'm going to design that. So whichever way it goes, you've got one that's going the right way. And anyway, that's my plan. I'll put up what I have. I'll just kind of stick it up over the top of this, and I'll put it up and so you can kind of see where I'm at. I've changed the design a little bit to make it look a little more bug-like and not so much. My mom says, it looks like a Mini Cooper. I'm like, yeah, it kind of does. But in changing it, it made it way more complicated. So I'm kind of struggling with it a little bit because now the actual construction of it has gotten to be a lot more complicated. So let me hang that up. So there's what I've got so far. I don't know how well you can see the drawing. I'm hoping it's showing up. I can't really tell from my little screen that I can see whether or not it's showing up, but I got the bottom part done. That was The very bottom with the tires, that part was, and then that was okay. And then the next strip was more complicated because now I'm getting into those weird angles. And so it's a matter of lining everything up. I had to redraft it, knowing that when I originally drafted it out, I was just going to cut pieces and sew them, figure out measurements and that kind of thing. But being that I changed the way the angles and stuff go, that has to be paper pieced. So that I had to completely redraw how I was putting it together. So it's become a bigger challenge. So I'm hoping I can get it done. If not, if I can at least get this one done, then I will just make this be the quilt. I'll turn it sideways, do some bordering or something on it, and just have it be this black bug. That was his baby, and my niece is now cherishing that car and is saving her money to fix it up and all that kind of stuff. So if I can at least get this one done, we'll see how it goes. Because once I get this one done, then I just have to make basically a duplicate of it, mirror image, but duplicate of it in the other color. So I'll have worked out things that aren't working. So yeah, that's it's like, darn it, it wasn't as hard before, but it is going to be better in the long run if I can pull it off. So that's taken quite a bit of time because it's just a lot more complicated. Just doing that part, trying to get how I'm going to put it together, how I'm going to get the seams to line up so that you get the idea of a curve when you're sewing straight and all that kind of stuff. So I hope I can get at least the black one done and kind of go from there. So that's where that is. And I did make another quilt because a couple weeks ago I went to my little quilt retreat that I go to with my friends. I've gone now. Well, I went earlier this year. So I think we're going to try and do it a couple times a year, but I don't know. I don't know if that's going to come together. So I cut out another pattern. Actually, let me just put the quilt up. I'm going to take this stuff down. I'll put the next quilt up so you can see it because I actually finished it within just half a day. It was supposed to be my whole weekend long project and it only took me like half a day. So luckily I brought some knitting with me, which was just fabulous. So I'm going to pause again, put up another quilt, and I'll talk about that one. Here's my next finished quilt. It is from the pattern Lloyd and Lola. It's another Elizabeth Hartman pattern. And I decided to do just Lola. I'm calling her Lola. And so I just did it. It's a pretty good size wall hanging, and I'm going to quilt it and hang it up here in my little craft space here. But it went together really fast. Now there is a lot of pieces. It took a while for me to cut it all out because some of the pieces you're cutting are just teeny tiny. But it went together really fast. So the majority of it is hand-dyed fabric. The llama body is a batik that I had, and I originally was going to do it with this gray fabric I had, and then I was out as I was kind of looking for different colors and things. I came across this fat quarter that I had of this beige batik fabric, and I thought it just was perfect for the body. So all the little dingle balls, those I hand dyed years and years ago when I was trying that out. And I hand dyed some fabric just to use as hand dyed fabric for art quilts and stuff that I did. And then the background fabric I have is fabric that I've had for quite a while, and I've just cherished it. And it's from Vicki Welsh, who is colored by Vicki. I think I'll put the link down below on how you can get hand dyed fabric if you're interested in it. She does beautiful hand dyed fabrics. So yeah, I think she looks kind of cute. It was a fun quilt to do. You know, Elizabeth Hartman does make adorable quilts. She has so many of these animal quilts out on the market, and they're not paper pieced. You actually cut the pieces and sew them together. You're not sewing them to a piece of paper. But if you follow along in her directions, it just goes together. And this went together really, really well. So pretty happy with that. That's going to hang probably back in the back corner where I have my yarny stuff. And she'll just be my little companion here. So really fun. I think it's going to be nice and cheery. So that's why it's been like a lot of quilting, because finishing up that fancy forest and then doing this one, starting on the Volkswagen one. Oh, I wanted to say too, because I'm paper piecing it, and it's just a hand-drawn pattern, I have to hand draw the design, then retrace it so that I can make my actual pattern that I'm going to cut up and sew to. One of the things that I've used is I've got this roll of, it's like a tissue paper, and it's actually the paper that they put on medical examining tables. And I have a friend that works in the medical field, and years ago she was able to get me like the little last bit of, not quite big enough for them to keep on the table because they'll run out and they would normally toss it. It's great for doing paper piecing because it's thin enough to tear easily. You can see through it pretty well, and it was free. So, and it's like 18 inches wide. So that's what I'm using to make my patterns for that Volkswagen quilt, to do all that sewing and stuff. I did pick up a new quilt pattern. Quilting was always my biggest passion for years and years. I got really burned out on it because I was doing long arm quilting as a business, and I did that for a long time, and it really burned me out. Then I didn't want to have anything to do with quilting for quite a while. It took a few years before I even wanted to think about making a quilt, because I burned out pretty hard. So I'm just like, it's not something I'm necessarily gravitating towards, but sometimes you just feel like sewing and quilting. And so part of the reason why I guess it added to my lack of passion for it is because I've got plenty of quilts for myself. I can only really use one at a time. And I've made quilts for everybody in my family. And so like nobody else needs a quilt. And I don't want to just make it just because fabric's expensive, and it's just like, I don't know, I can make that, but then what am I going to do with it? It's just going to sit folded up in a closet or something. So I haven't been as excited about quilting in a long time. But this pattern came out by So Kind of Wonderful. And look at that Santa. It's Posh Santa. It's quilted using, So Kind of Wonderful designed their own curved ruler and method of sewing the curved piecing. And so this is with their mini curved ruler, which I have and haven't made anything with it yet. So cute. So this makes a little wall hanging. What's the size? 28 by 38. So it's a little wall hanging. I don't think I'm going to get it done this Christmas, but I'm hoping to work on it next year so that by next Christmas it'll be ready to hang up. But it's super cute. So that's that. That's all my quilting stuff. So I have gotten some knitting done. Oh, speaking of knitting, look, I'm wearing my harvest sweater. It's finally cold enough to wear my harvest sweater. And let me back up. Look at that cool button that I added to it. That was something that was given to me by somebody in my Knit Night group. And I've talked about it before. When did I finish it? Like before summer, end of spring. Sorry, I'm on a really weird stool. It's not easy to get on and off of it. I knit it using 2 strands of fingering weight yarn. The undyed strand is an MCN, so it does give it a nice softness. It's really nice. I went to the store today. It was a little warm, but it feels really good. It's been stormy and the fall leaves are almost off the trees, so it's a nice time to start wearing some sweaters. So it was nice to be able to grab this out of the closet and actually wear a sweater that I made, because I don't know. I think I've worn one other sweater and I don't feel like it fits me all that great, so I don't wear it all that often. But I have also finished, I think I was almost finished the last time I recorded with you guys, my Darkwater sweater by Jennifer Steingass, who is Knit Love Wool on Instagram. So it's a colorwork sweater and it's done. My ends are woven in, it's blocked, but there's always a but, right? I'm going to take out my bind off on the bottom and make it longer. I just don't feel like it's long enough. And Jim even said, he goes, it looks too short. So Maybe I'll put it on. Okay, there it is. It fits. The sleeve holes I feel are a little bit low. I don't know how you make them not be as low, but I feel like they're a little low, which gives me a weird pull. But, oh, you can't tell. I need it to be, can you see how it's like here? I want it to be like there. So it's only got like an inch ribbing on the bottom. And so I'm just going to take out that edge and knit some more ribbing until it's a little bit longer. I thought maybe it would stretch more lengthwise when I blocked it, and it didn't. I've got one more end and weave in there. So I did 3/4 length sleeves. I did a row of the color, and I did a row of that before I did the cuff. And then when I went back to this teal color, I knit one more row before I started the ribbing, because if I went right into knitting and purling, it gave it a really weird look. But I like that it just kind of brought that color down a little bit. 3/4 length sleeves work perfect for me because I'm always pulling my sleeves up. So there you have it. My Darkwater sweater is done. Needs to be modified. How's that? So that's a project that I will take on. Oh gosh, after I'm done with something else that I have to get done. But this is all done in MCN. The teal is a color I dyed. The color work is from Trilogy Yarns. It was called Sunshine something. I don't remember the name. Hopefully I can find the tag. If I did, I'll put the name down below. But I think it's just, I love it. I just love it. Okay, I need to scooch over. There we go. Okay, I'm on like what's called a saddle stool. So you don't sit normal, you sit like you're in a saddle. And it's a chair that came with my long arm machine. But I need to use it because it sits me up higher. But it's just really awkward to get in and out of it. So sorry for fiddling, but it's not comfortable. Okay. So somebody at Knit Night was telling me about this yarn company, and she was crocheting. She does crochet. Was crocheting a shawl. It was gorgeous, and it just was this gradient colorway. Not necessarily my colors, but I just loved the way the gradient looked. And she makes things that have a lot of texture and stuff. It was really pretty. So the name of the company is Hobbii, Hobbii, and it's out of Denmark. And I bought yarn. From them. It's a cotton. This is 100% cotton. Can you see the gradient? So what it is it's four skinny strands of yarn. And when you start to move to the next color, it's like one strand drops off and then a new color drops on and then drops off, drops on until it kind of changes. Well, they were, once I looked at the site, then their ads kept showing up on Instagram like, 65% off clearance. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try it because I would like to really try and make a cotton top of some sort. I may crochet it, just a lightweight top. It is 200 grams per cake. This is Cotton Kings, so that's the type of yarn. Cotton Kings, it's 800 meters in a skein. So what does that equal out to? A lot. It equals out to a lot. So I ended up buying 2 because I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do if I crochet. That eats up a little bit more yarn. And so I didn't have a lot of choices for color because they were doing a clear out, but I think this works. It's sort of, I don't know what it's turning out looking like in the camera, but it's like a dark pink and goes to a more medium pink. So I'll definitely be able to wear it. It was, 874 yards. Says it right there. Boom. Boom, there it is. The shipping was only like $7 or something. It wasn't that big of a deal. It came to me in about a week. So really nice. They've got some really fun colors, and then they have different gradient type yarns and stuff, and then they'll even have solids that go with a color that's in it. So if you're looking for a solid or something. So a couple of skeins of this, that's, 1,700 and something yards. I can make a whole sweater with it. I guess that equals out to be about a fingering weight yarn, doesn't it? So I don't know. My concern was, because if you start a sweater knitting, you're knitting in the rounds, you're getting this part done, then you separate for the sleeves, you knit down the body. So your gradation would go that way. Then you pick up the sleeves, usually down pretty low. And so if you pick up the sleeves, your gradation's going to be off. So you almost want to make it look intentional. So that's where I'm a little bit not so sure. There's a sweater called Heart of Glass. I'll put a picture of it here that I saved. I think it might be free on Ravelry, and I had saved it to my library. Like, that'd be a really cute summer top. I even thought of making it with that, because I think when you stop for the sleeve, that's the end. Like, you separate for the sleeves, that's your short sleeve shirt. So I could do that. I also thought if I crocheted something and just made something more loose fitting, cover up style type of thing, and put a tank top like underneath it. So if anybody has any suggestions on what I can do with pretty much a fingering weight ton of yarn, cotton, let me know. But definitely check them out if you like some cotton yarns and stuff. Most of them are cotton. I think they do have a little bit of wool, but most of their yarns are cotton. Extremely well priced. So this, with the shipping, the 2 balls of yarn, I think it cost me $30. That included the shipping. So if I get a sweater or something out of it for $30, I think that's a win. That's definitely a win in my book. Thought it was worth a try. I don't necessarily think I need a cotton shawl, but I even thought, a cotton blanket for like springtime, when you still kind of want a little blanket on you a little bit, could be kind of cool. So the possibilities are endless. One of the things I've been knitting on. Okay, so I finished my Darkwater sweater, and then I kind of waited because I knew something was coming. A little while ago, Kim from Barnyard Knits was asking, she asked Michelle of the Naughty Knitwits to do sample knitting. And then I said, yeah, I'll do a sample knit too. She needed some things knit up for her booth when she's going to vend at Vogue Knitting Live in New York in January. I'm like, I'll do it. I'll do something. I just can't do a sweater because I'm not that fast and I don't have as much knitting time as I used to. So, and I didn't take a picture of the yarn before I got into it because I was really excited to start it, and I just started it. So what I'm making is Helen Stewart's Land of Sweets cowl that came out, was it in 2018? It may have been 2018. But it was designed to use an advent calendar, so some minis. So I hope you can see, where's the ball of yarn I'm using? Oh, here it is. Oh, that's just a duplicate. Okay. So here's the yarn. It was her Succulents mini set. And oh, the colors are just so pretty. She does such a fabulous dyeing job. I've never knit with any of her yarn because, as you know, I don't generally buy a lot of yarn. But it's been really fun. So she had it all laid. It was like so pretty in the package. She had her skeins and they were, in this certain order. It's based off of Succulents. And so I just followed the order that she had it in the package because I thought that just looked really nice. It was a real nice blend. So I wouldn't say it's gradiated, but it's blended. So when I was at my knit retreat a couple weeks ago and my Lola got done super fast, I had brought the yarn and the pattern with me, and I just sat and I knitted. And it was funny because I'm in a group of quilters, not knitters. None of them knit. And one of the gals, and they're friends. One of them, she says, "So is that like a job, or do you find that relaxing?" I'm like, I find this way more relaxing. I'm sitting in this comfy, reclining couch, and they're over their sewing machines like this, and I think, why wouldn't this look relaxing? I'm just knitting away, so happy. So I was really pleased that I had it. So this is what I've gotten done so far. Isn't that just gorgeous? So this color here is starting over right here. So the end of this light color is halfway. So first time I'm doing a Helen Stewart pattern, she breaks it down into percentages. You're so far along, 5%, 10%, whatever. So for this particular pattern, it's every 8 rows is 5%. So every 8 rows, I'm changing colors regardless of where it is in the pattern. So you've got some of the lace work. It doesn't just stop at the end of a color. You know what I mean? So these two greens are very similar. There is a difference to them, but they are very similar. So that looks like a bigger block of the same color, but it's not. These two colors here are very similar, but different. This bottom one has a little more purple in it. And then this one's a little more blue, but I just think they go together so well. And look how nice her yarn looks knitted up. So I am 60% done, and I'm just following the same order. So this cowl will start with this color, and on the other end will end with this color. It's really pretty. It's really pretty. And it's funny because I was just getting like really hung up with this like eyelet lace. I was like, couldn't get it right. And I thought to get to the end, I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. And these needles, I love this part of the needle. I don't love this part of the needle. So these are Knitter's Pride Nova Platinas. They've got a really nice tip to them. They slide really nice, but the join is not great. And they keep coming unscrewed. And I've even had Jim screw them. And whenever he screws things on, it's like I can't ever get anything undone because it's like his life depends on it. If you have to screw this lid on, you better screw it on like it's never coming off. And they still unscrew. So it had unscrewed and I'm tightening it up and I went to slide my yarn and I dropped a stitch right at the eyelet, right at a yarn over something or another. And I couldn't fix it. I had to take out all these rows. So my whole camping time, I just like did the same part like 2 or 3 times. So then I decided I need to use stitch markers, and that really helped. I should have done it before, but I kept thinking, I can do this. I don't need stitch markers. Yeah, you do. I do anyway. So I put stitch markers in. It was a 10 stitch repeat. So I had a bunch of stitch markers. Right now I'm just doing just knitting for several rows to break up the eyelet. But isn't that pretty? So this is Barnyard Knits, barnyardknits.com, and this is the Succulents mini collection. Highly recommend it. So if you're lucky enough and you're going to be at Vogue Knitting Live in New York, you'll see it live. But I'm really making sure that I am really making sure that I'm not leaving mistakes, because it's not for me, and it's like going to be on display. If it was just me, I'd be like, I don't know, I'm short a stitch, let me just add one. And can't really do that when it's somebody else's project. You know what I mean? Know what I mean, Jelly Bean? Okay, boom. I maybe mentioned, I can't remember if I mentioned it on here, if it's just something I talked about at Knit Night. But there is a blanket that I've been watching being done. Sorry. There. Blanket I've been watching being done on Craft House Magic. Ellie's making a Battenberg blanket. And basically it's little tiny granny squares. And you do colors and then offset it with a solid of some sort. It's shown with undyed skein. I don't think that's going to be what I'm going to do. So did I show you guys the chair? Was it? Yeah. No. I recovered a chair in here with a slipcover. I might show you a picture. It's just a chair, but I put a slipcover on it. So it's just a navy blue solid color. And I thought, oh, it would be really cute with some little thing over the back, right? And I'm like, so if I just sort of make it like a table runner, sort of just a long, skinny thing over the top. So I was telling Jim this, and I'm like, as I'm describing this, it sounds very old lady. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, well, if the shoe fits. So my thought was to just add color to this chair by doing these little crochet squares and not make a full-size blanket, but just make this little thing that goes over the backrest. So I'm going to do it anyway. And if it ends up being like a table runner or something, then I'll just use it for that. But I had to learn how to make a granny square because I've never done that before. As I've talked before, if you've been here a while, you know I'm very, very new at crocheting. So I learned how to make a little granny square, and they're tiny. They're super tiny. I like this granny square as opposed to others I've seen because it's more solid. So this pattern, what is the pattern? I don't have it written. Oh, it's on my phone. Hang on a second. Okay, the pattern is by cherryheartcrochet.co.uk, and she has the pattern's available on Ravelry. It's a Battenberg blanket. And then there's a link to her blog that tells you how to do it. And it's got, you know, like really good pictures. And that helped me. Then I brought it to Knit Night. And luckily, we're about half crochet, half knitting at Knit Night. And so somebody was able to help me there, which then helped me make more sense out of what I was doing. So I just grabbed a bunch of fingering weight yarn that I have left over from projects. So it's left over from a sweater, or mostly a sweater, scarf, a shawl or something like that, a cowl, whatever. This was a pair of socks. And so I'm just making these teeny tiny little granny squares. And then I'm going to, this was Fire in the Sky, that was one of mine. I'm going to offset it with, I thought, oh, maybe I should do black. Offset bright colors with black. And then I'm like, I don't know if that'll just feel dark. I wanted something to kind of lighten up. So then as I was doing colors, I did this one. And it's like a almost neutral. I mean, it is a neutral, but it's got some pink and gray. And I thought, well, that could look really good as an offsetting, offsetting square. That would go with everything. Maybe I should do that. So then I did this color, which is this like citron green. And I'm like, that needs to be because look, wouldn't that be cute? If this green, it's like a yellow green, was my offsetting color. It goes with so many of the colors. It would be a nice bright, I don't know how bright it's showing up on the camera, but it'd be a really nice bright offsetting square. Not completely solid. There's some variation to it. So I may do this. I weighed it. Little over a half a skein of this. And these are each about 2 grams. I figure I can make, with what I have left of this color, I figured I could make like 110 squares, which I think would be enough. So I have a little bit less of this one, and I think this would look pretty too. This is one that I dyed a few years ago. Ended up in a shawl, I think. So I could go that route. It feels safe. A little bit less of this, I wouldn't be able to make as many. So I almost have to I have to do some math. Like, how wide would I want it? How long? How many squares am I going to end up needing? So why don't you guys give me your opinion? Would you go with the citron, or would you go with, so here's just for like contrast. Would you go with the gray and pink? So far, this was a pair of socks I did. I'm trying to make like a couple. This was a shawl that I had started and ripped out because I didn't like the way it was looking. I don't know, this was just something. So quite a few of these are colors that were dyed by me back in the day when I was dyeing. So yeah, I'd love your opinion, because the way that she has you do it is you make all the colored ones. So not your neutral. I'll call these my neutral. So all your like colorful ones. And then when you make the neutral ones, I haven't looked that far in the pattern, but yeah, when you make them, you're connecting it to the other ones as you're doing it or something. So it's not like I'm going to make a bunch of solids and sew them together. You're putting them together as you go along, kind of a thing. So that's why I only made one of these, each of these, because I thought, oh, because then I had the idea, well, this would be good, and then this would be good. And then I would crochet them together or something. So I have to weave in some ends and all that. And so I'm putting them in my cool box. This is a box that Michelle gave me a birthday present in, I think. And I figured it was just cool. So as I make them, I throw them in my box. Sorry. I've got them in my, who made this bag? Is there no tag on it? Oh, goodness. I forget whose bag this is. I bought it a few years ago. Oh, crap. They don't have a tag in it. Well, that was silly of her. I forget. She had an Etsy shop. Anyway, so what I did, because this is what I took camping, is I got my scissors, put it on just a crocheted chain so that I don't lose them. And then I have a square. This was my first one I made, so that I can kind of check my gauge, because some of the yarns are a little thinner, and so I am using 2 different hook sizes depending on how I feel the yarn is. And I'm just double checking it on this, which I tied to the handle so I don't lose it, and I can find it easy. So I've got all my yarns in here, and this has pockets in it. I'm trying to pull my hooks out. So for the most part, I'm using a 3mm, and for the thinner threads, I'm using a 3.5. And that seems to be giving me pretty consistent squares. They're about 2 inches square. Take about 2 grams a piece. And I'm really enjoying making them. I really am. They're just, you get one done pretty quickly. Once I figured it out a little better and had a little more practice, and then I actually have memorized how to do it, because I was constantly looking at my phone for the directions. I figured out how to do it. I can do one in about 10 minutes. So just a quick, if you just have a few minutes kind of a thing, you get this little square done. It's really cute. I could keep going and make a blanket. I actually have enough leftover yarn to do that. I don't have enough leftover yarn of the solid colors that I was talking about. I would have to do something different, maybe dye something. I don't know if I want to go with, that would just really take forever. That would really take forever. And I've still got that other crochet blanket that is like partially done, that I haven't had an opportunity to get to yet. I don't have enough time. I need more time in my day. But we've been gone, and so it makes it harder to get stuff done when you're gone. You know, my life's not that hard, so I'm not complaining. It's just I want to make all the things, and it's hard to know what things what you're going to work on and stuff. A few weeks back, I did set up in here and did some pour painting, and I put it on Instagram. Most of the stuff's been on Instagram, so if you follow me, this is probably all old stuff. But hang on, let me get it. So I have a craft table in here now, and I set it all up to do some pour painting, and it worked out pretty well. My setup worked out pretty well. I want to try it again, but it's messy, and it's definitely something I have to be really set up for. And then I did some, I put it away, and then I was using that table to work out my Volkswagen quilt. So that table had the drawings and fabric, and so I couldn't do it. But I did these paintings. So this is what's considered fluid art or pour painting. I don't know which way it's going to go. Maybe like that. This was using the same colors, but it turned out a little bit differently. So I still need to varnish them, which will make them shiny and I'll make the colors pop a little bit more. I think that I'm going to put these above my design wall. There's enough space that this size, this is an 8 by 8 inch size, that this will fit. So then I'm like, okay, that was those colors. Let me try using, you know, I still had some of those colors left over, but let me try doing some different colors, and it didn't work. So sometimes it doesn't work, but I can still use this canvas and I'll just pour over the top of it because it's very smooth. Like I said, I haven't varnished it or anything. So these were fails. This one, and then this one just got really ugly. But it was fun to experiment. I only did those 4. And then because I have to have a place to set them out so they can dry, because it takes days for them to dry. You just let them sit. And so I have a little setup that I can dry some things, but I only can dry about 4 at a time. So that was it for that. What's coming up? Everybody's at Rhinebeck this weekend. I wish I could go. I do. I really wish I could go. Then I don't know if I would like to go because it's really a lot of people. It's just, it's, you know, on the other side of the United States for me because I'm on the Oregon West Coast and it's in New York on the East Coast. And just the travel and stay is out of my budget, let alone any purchases or anything. So don't think I'll ever make it, but never say never. I've learned that in my life. We were camping, trailers put away for the winter, made me really sad because I like to camp, but we had some good camping. Drove around Mount Hood last weekend. We camped, came home. The next day we left and drove around Mount Hood and checked out campgrounds to make lists of campsites we want that we haven't been to in a long time. And the campgrounds are closed, so we just parked our cars at the gate. We're driving one car, parked the car at the gate, and then just walked through the campgrounds, which was really nice because you're just walking in the woods. Nobody's there, so you can see all the campsites, and we just would get out and walk around, look at the river, whatever we were at, and get back in the car. And we were gone for like 10 or 12 hours just driving around Mount Hood. It was just, and the colors of the leaves were a peak leaf, what did they call it? Peak color. It was so stunning, so pretty. Oh. So that was really good. I look forward to going camping again next year. I don't know where we're going yet. We have to start making plans because you have to start making reservations pretty soon. So I haven't been able to spend a lot of time up here. I've done tiny bit of spinning, but not a lot. Still working on the same bat. I've got just about my second bobbin spun that I need to ply. So I'm at that point of what am I going to do? I'm probably going to go ahead and try and play it on my little Nano. I just know that I'm not going to get very big skeins out of it. And then I have to I don't know what I'm going to make. Whatever I make, I guess I just have to start new skeins or something. I don't know. That's just what it is right now. So I'm kind of looking forward to finishing that up so I can start another color because I got more batting or more roving or whatever that I need to spin up. So I do really enjoy it. I just haven't had the opportunity to do much of it. So it will happen. It will happen. In the meantime, I hope you are all well and everybody's enjoying fall. We're moving right on to winter now. It's getting cold. So I hope where you are is okay and that everything's well. So until next time, I will see you later. Are you having fun?